Welcome.
Hello, Jen's
Hey.
leading today because I'm
I'm a leader.
Yep.
I'm a natural born leader, and Ashley struggles with that.
all the time.
I was born in Minnesota where leadership is expected, and everyone, they just take charge and they get things done.
Yep.
For sure. Am I right or am I right?
I have heard it's a total Midwest trait to just barrel people over with your leadership.
You tell people honestly and sincerely what you think, and you don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah. Jen's goal is to be more honest in this podcast.
Yes, I am.
And it's not
Minnesotan.
starting out that well.
No, I struggle with, I try to be really polite because you're taught that being polite is more important than anything else in Minnesota. And then,
I like polite people in general.
yeah.
Bad manners is a pet peeve of mine.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of courtesy.
Yep.
But why do you think it is so important to people in the Midwest? The actual politeness itself.
I think that, well, I talked to Gail today, and Gail,
Mom number 2.
she was saying that Norwegian people don't have feelings, which I don't believe is true, but she says they do not have feelings. We do not have them. They just don't come up, you know? So it doesn't make sense to me, but because we have such a large Norwegian population and Scandinavian population in Minnesota, there's just a little bit more of a reserved kind of thing going on. It's just a reserved kind of way of being.
But I've also heard that, and maybe this wasn't always the way it was, but in Norway today and Sweden and some of those Scandinavian countries,
Mm-hmm.
they're also brutally honest.
Maybe they are in Norway. They're not brutally honest in Minnesota. I can tell you that.
And you don't think they've separated, after all these generations of being here, that it hasn't just become its own culture in its own way? Like the Midwest has separated from that Scandinavian, like maybe that was a root of the...
It comes from repression, maybe. You have religious, puritanical, or whatever, and you've got Lutherans and Catholics in Minnesota, primarily. I think that they are uncomfortable oftentimes talking about, sex and things that might be a little questionable, and they're just keeping it polite.
Well, or private matters, right? Like things that are
Private
maybe...
matters of any kind.
Yeah. Something that's between people in their own household, but you don't bring that out into the public.
No, doesn't. Like it did. If anybody watched Fargo, they do a really good job of kind of...
TV show or movie?
I haven't watched the TV show, although I hear it's good.
It's very good.
But the movie, when there's an old guy and he's explaining what he looked like, people being taken in a car, and he's just like, well, they came up here and they put them in the car and then they left. No, there's no emotion to that. Another person might be like, very upset that this has happened or have feelings about that it's happened, and they don't.
Well, it's not his business, right?
It's not his business.
Affect him.
Yeah, and everybody kind of minds their business, but also beneath the surface, this is my reading of it, is there is also this, people see it, people sense it, you just don't talk about it. And so it's very confusing for me as a person growing up in that I couldn't figure out what anyone thought. And I would say things and people thought it would be rude of me to have expressed openly this thought.
Can you give me an example of something you wanted to say or a question you wanted to ask, but you knew it was not normal practice in the Midwest to bring up such a topic?
You wouldn't talk about politics ever. And we, in my family, listened to Minnesota Public Radio News. And there was always things that came up and things that could have been discussed. And the kids it would have been kind of rude to know about that and get into all that,
And how old were you?
Well, I mean, I grew up there. I was a baby.
Well, but when you started thinking of like, hey, I understand the subject enough to formulate my own thought or opinion, I would maybe like to say something like junior high.
7th grade, probably, yeah.
So like middle
even
school, junior
6th
high.
grade. Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for opening my mouth in grade school. I think we talked about Mr. Miller, my arch nemesis.
Mr. Miller, are you out there?
I hope he's not.
That's not very Midwest of you.
It's not. I don't fit
You're
in.
making progress.
I don't fit in, but yeah. It's
What did he do?
he just would not like it if I spoke up more. I mean, my mom wanted us to walk in ERA marches for the Equal Rights Amendment, and we were not people who were quiet.
Okay. Let's give people some reference. ERA was in the 70s.
Yeah, like probably 70s, early 80s.
Yep, late 70s.
And, my mom wasn't necessarily quiet. And my father was a thinker. He wasn't necessarily quiet either.
A professor.
He was
an
a college
intellectual
professor. And we just were more open about any of those things. We had thoughts about politics and we wanted to talk. We talked about them. And I think that a lot of people thought it was just rude.
So did you go march?
We did. We went to some marches at the college.
And you ran into your jerk-faced teacher there?
No, but he just didn't like it when I would openly say something that was like disagreeing with what he was saying. So he would maybe, like he told my brother that the word infinity wasn't a word. Which isn't. It's a dumb thing. Like, of course it is. He didn't like the way that Ben used it, and he thought that he had done something. He just didn't like little intellectual kids. He didn't like that. And it was considered rude, and he just didn't like any of that.
Children should be seen and not heard from.
I don't know if that's, an entirely Minnesota thing, but...
Well, and that's not like entirely a bad thing, right?
I mean, I think it depends on what their kids are saying, but...
Do you talk to kids nowadays?
I love talking to some kids.
Yeah, some.
But
the answer there.
Well, I mean, I'll talk to just about any kid, but...
But if you're a teacher... Okay, first of all, what did he teach?
My dad taught psychology.
No, teacher Buttface, Mr. Buttface.
Mr. Miller was a 5th and 6th grade teacher, so he taught all the subjects.
2 years in a row, or were 5th and 6th combined in one co-classroom?
2 years in a row. I was lucky enough to have him 2 years in a row because his son, one of the other teacher's sons, was in our grade.
Do we have a sound effect for like when you win? Tell me when you're ready.
Winning?
Yeah, winning. Like a woo or a pew, I don't know, explosion of some prize getting something.
Nope.
Jennifer won the Mr. Miller lottery. Oh, that actually ended up really good. We'll keep that. That won't be edited out.
It works. It works in a way.
So for 2 years, you were miserable.
I was, and then he was my coach for basketball.
Ugh.
The sports that I played, both basketball and softball.
Not ugh to playing sports, but ugh to him being a coach. First of all.
And he wouldn't start me because he said I was lippy or mouthy or opinionated or whatever.
Miss Lippy?
I don't even think I was, but who knows? But I didn't keep myself to myself. I would say something if I had something to say.
Where is this young woman now?
This woman who doesn't say things to her. I say things. Look at me right now.
Yeah, but it takes a little bit for you to get comfortable enough to really say things with people. Did Mr. Miller beat it out of you?
Beat it out of me. I don't know. No, I think
he did not touch Jennifer.
He didn't.
If you are Mr. Miller's family in Minnesota,
he did not physically put his hands on
us.
me, but he definitely made me feel uncertain.
Think twice.
Yeah, and I think it was more like the students and the kids and like if you wanted to date someone at the time, if I was trying to find out if, let's say, a fella at the time was interested in me or wanted to be a person like that I would date, you couldn't get a straight answer out of him. Yeah, you'd say,
you didn't pass a note that said, "Do you like me?"
No.
Check one yes or no.
They probably put, hold on a minute there, or something like that. But no, but I mean, if you were asking them what they think about something, because it would matter to me what they thought. Like if you said, "Do you believe in God?" or something like that.
You were way too serious a dater. If you were asking these questions in 6th and 7th grade.
This would have been high school. But I literally didn't want to date any of them. I was working on other things.
The first hurdle it's not a hurdle. The first step in
Wordle.
Yes, the first wordle in having Jennifer quiet her voice was Mr. Miller.
Oh,
because he thought you were lippy. And he thought children should just be quiet. And
he was just the one that I remember. I mean, I'm sure that there's a majority of people that worked on not sharing their thoughts. It's this underlying quiet, but you don't say anything, and people will think, if you don't know them well, you'll think that they're not judging you, but they are. underneath the surface. It's to go
So
back
is it
to watch it on Love is Blind, the
yes,
new
okay, this
episode.
is what we're transitioning to.
So
Love
the
is Blind.
the Love is Blind. In
It's
it,
in Wisconsin.
it's in Minnesota.
What?
Yeah, Wisconsin is a garbage place that
I
nobody
know,
likes.
but I thought it was in Wisconsin.
The Packers suck.
This is we could.
It's in Minneapolis, I believe.
But
And-
lots of these people were from Wisconsin. I've heard some of them say, "Oh, I live
Yeah.
in blah blah blah, Milwaukee or whatever."
Yeah, whatever it is, I believe it's in Minneapolis, but it's pretty
They
much the
probably
same.
pulled from around
Yeah.
the area.
And there are people from Wisconsin who are allowed to cross the borders for some reason. I don't know why they would do that, but they have allowed some Wisconsinites to enter the state. In fact, our guest is actually a Wisconsinite.
And
but
Jen loves her. It's possible.
it is possible.
Things can happen. Okay, so
At any rate, the people, when I watch them interview, when whatever you want to call the Love is Blind sweet conversations that they're having.
so when they're talking to one
Another, I'll give you an example there. There's one girl who's like, I have a gay sister. And this guy's, I guess, a little bit more of a religious guy, goes to church regularly. And she said, do you think that with your faith that you would have a problem with my sister being gay? And he's like, oh, we try to kind of take everyone just, how they are. And underneath he's going, oh my God, what am I going to do? You don't know that, but the dialogue inside that fella's head is probably not what he's saying.
that all sounds very passive aggressive to me.
It's passive aggressive. That's what they say. I didn't know what passive aggressive was exactly because I've lived with it for so much of my life or had lived with it. I didn't know, but and he's not even being aggressive. He's just being polite because it would be too wrong for him to say, he as a Minnesota nice person, he couldn't say, I really do have a problem with that. I don't really like that.
I'd be willing to give it
He might
an
say something
effort
like that,
to
sure.
get to know someone. I've just never really been around many homosexual people, and I
Yep. But my
don't know, and I don't want to offend you because I like you.
The point maybe being that if he didn't like it, he wouldn't say that he didn't like it. If he did like it, he might be okay. Like he might be okay saying it.
But not
you
even
can
that?
tell by the way that he responds, he's not really cool with it. But he's processing it and being polite about it, and then he's trying to figure things out.
Okay,
So
and then
what's not matching, he's not matching. I'm not in his brain, and I don't know it. So this is more of an example. But if you were a person who had an issue with that, and you were like a Minnesotan, you would go, oh, that's an interesting point of view that you got there. That I hadn't thought of it like that. But really, you're like, what? No, that's not right. But they don't process it like that. It's just a politeness that's not.
I have not gotten to this part yet, so you must be
Oh,
ahead of me,
I
which is
might
fine.
be.
No spoiler. But, and then is she polite back when he says, oh,
She's pretty polite. She's more of an aggressive Minnesotan who said like something like this here. She was like a little more open about it. And, she's got this sister. And then she asked the guy what he thought about Black Lives Matter. And he's like, oh, I try not to pay too much attention to that. And that means as a person, as a Minnesotan, as a person who's somewhat intuitive, you say, he's not okay with that. And he does not agree with this stuff. But he's not
okay,
telling me
so-
the truth.
So we need a Midwest translator when
You
we're
do.
watching this show.
Yes. And I can
So if someone says,
try to help.
oh, I don't know very much about that, I try to not get into that, it
He
means,
doesn't agree with you. That's my belief. But let's ask-
Oh,
let's ask Mary.
This is going to make watching this show much more entertaining because
Okay.
as I've been watching it, let's be
There's
honest, we watch
seething-
this trash TV for the drama.
There's seething stuff going on beneath the surface.
And you think it's all going to bubble over.
I have no idea if they ever will, but I can tell you that in their souls, they are in trauma. I can tell
Because
you.
then it's a whole different level
Sure.
of...
I'm happy to help.
Okay. We'll put some stuff on the interwebs. Can we do that, or will we get sued by Netflix?
I don't know.
We'll
Probably
try.
not. Nobody cares. We had 14 views.
Oh, that's good.
Those are all the friends I had.
That is so
Okay.
good. I'm so happy we had 14 views, y'all.
Yeah, that's
Thank
not
you.
bad. Thank you for your support.
It's a good number.
So,
So that's a mystery.
yeah,
This is a really bad transition.
it's a bad transition. Also, Fargo transition there. Kind of a mystery.
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
And
The
I don't
TV
know.
show and the movie.
Yeah. And I don't know if Mary's like that kind of a mystery writer, but we'll find out.
Writer? I thought she was a reader.
She's a writer and a reader.
Ooh.
I don't know if she writes. Let's find out.
All right.
I
Mary
got to call her because,
is from Wisconsin, but we will forgive her for that.
we don't forgive her, but we look past it.
That was a
Just
very
ask me.
Midwestern response.
No, ask me if I like Wisconsin.
Jennifer, do you like Wisconsin?
Wisconsin's got lots of stuff there.
Do you know much about it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know a lot of things about Wisconsin. They have lakes and stuff there. It's a lot of people really like it.
Okay, now, Jen, who is no longer living in the Midwest and can be honest, what do you think about Wisconsin?
To be totally honest, it's probably fine, but I hate the Packers. I enjoy going back and forth about the rivalry between our football teams, and also
Who drinks more?
Wisconsin drinks the most of anyone. Not that Minnesota doesn't drink, but Wisconsin drinks more than any other.
Are they number one?
They, I believe, are number one.
Minnesota's number two, and you're maybe a little jealous?
No. Oh, God, no.
Not you. You don't drink very much. But
no, I don't think that's a competition that they're trying for. We are all, there's plenty of
it is
alcoholism.
America.
There's plenty to go around. There's plenty to go around.
So mainly it's football.
It's mostly the Packers, Vikings. And the Packers actually hate Chicago Bears more typically than
we weren't going to talk about politics today.
Oops, hold on. But Mary's here. Should we let her in?
Mary, we'll talk about this later.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Yay! We did it. We did it.
Okay.
Yay.
Now we can start.
Oh, sound effects and everything.
We're ready.
We're ready to talk to Mary from the great state
of Wisconsin.
Of Wisconsin.
Yep.
But
not recently.
Yeah.
Well, we were discussing there's a new Love is Blind, which I doubt you've been watching on Netflix.
No.
Are you one for trashy reality dating shows, Mary?
No.
Oh,
I'm
good
not.
for you.
I was in another lifetime, but not in this one.
Okay. Well, they're in Minnesota.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they're
very nice to each other.
They're real polite the whole time.
I'm familiar with Minnesota nice.
Yep.
Do you like it?
No.
Okay, so is Wisconsin nice the same or different?
In Minnesota, they will treat you very nice.
Yep.
To your face.
Yeah.
But not, but they're not going to get too close unless you're related to them.
So,
okay, very interesting.
I was explaining to her that in the show,
there's one couple,
and Love is Blind, there's like a wall between you and you can't see the person, and we're trying to find out if just through this communication two people can fall in love. And it usually leads to a good bit of drama, but the Minnesotans they're too nice for the drama, but they're thinking the drama. Because if you know Minnesotans and you look at them and you can see them, you can see it. So I don't know if it's getting lost. Ashley's like, it's boring. I'm like, but remember, or there's a girl who's definitely on the liberal side asking this nice boy about what he thinks of BLM,
Bureau of Land Management, I'm sure is what she meant.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the whole thing. And she's like, so what did you think about it? And he's like, oh, well, I try to stay out of that stuff. I don't try to get too into it. And I'm like, Ashley, that means he does not agree with any of what she's saying.
Yep.
Oh.
So I'm like,
we need a Minnesota translator for this series.
There might be a chance he could get laid, so he's not going to say.
well, he has to marry her first.
Okay. Well, whole marriages have survived for decades off of
lies and politeness.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that's only a Minnesota thing. I think any heterosexual man will say anything to get laid.
Well, that's true.
But I think that he's having a different struggle. So maybe it is just to get laid, but he's got to marry the person to lay her.
Well, and he probably likes her.
Or thinks she's hot in some way, maybe the way she's talking.
Sort of.
But Mary, I say that he has to marry her only because on the show, he can't see her until he proposes.
Until they're engaged.
Oh,
Lordy. It's not like, there's some moral reason for them.
It's toxically stupid.
It's a very bad show and we're watching it. So, and that's what's important.
I'm glad you don't waste your time.
So
I used to watch some reality shows, but they were more like the cooking shows.
I
but
love
then
those.
then it just broke my heart when people got kicked off. And so I thought, I'm too soft for that.
Oh,
I'm
Like
too
the
empathetic.
oh, that's so sweet. No, I get that. I love a great British Bake Off,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
attached to all of them, and I think they're just lovely people.
Yes. Then they cut them off at the knees.
Yeah, and they say that they're gutted.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
oh, you British people.
That's terrible. Well, yeah, I understand it's hard. I don't think you'd have that problem watching Love is Blind because you'd probably be like, I don't like any of them. There's no one I like.
They all deserve everything that's coming to them.
okay. Yeah.
No, not necessarily, but at any rate, I'm trying to tell her, like, it's not as simple as it seems. These Minnesotans have an under feeling that they don't discuss behind the politeness.
They
So,
seem sly.
Right. Yeah.
which is a great setting for a mystery. So we wanted to talk to you about in your writing. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself so that I don't have to put words in your mouth.
Okay. Well, I'm old. I've
She's
been through
55.
several lifetimes just in this one. I've decided sort of in my mid 40s that I wanted to be a writer. And before that, it had never occurred to me that I could be. I didn't know,
Why
such a
is
thing
that?
was possible. Just low self-esteem and low expectations and goals and such.
Had you
Yeah.
always enjoyed writing, though?
Oh, sure. I just assumed everybody did.
Oh,
You
no.
know,
Nope.
so when I worked for a company that worked with employee benefits, I would write up some stuff, like I would write up a procedural or something. And one of the guys said to me once something like, well, you can actually put a sentence together. We have people going out giving seminars who don't know how to put a sentence together, and oh, pshaw, But yeah, I just discovered, my mother, who dropped out of school, I think when she was 16, she always wrote a local column for our newspaper that came out once a week. She would call up the neighbors. I bet they
Like a
don't do
Dear
this
Abby.
anymore. Well, no, she would call up worse than that. She would call the neighbors and find out what they had done in the last week. Who had they entertained? Where had they gone to visit? Who had come to visit them?
For like dinner
Yeah,
It's
dates
like a
or.
gossip
yeah.
thing, or
And
is
she
it?
would put all this in the paper.
Hmm.
And if she didn't get it right, people got miffed.
Absolutely. This is where
Yeah,
the lies and the lying
Miffed.
media began.
right, fake news right there and then. But anyway, but maybe that's what made me think that everybody did that sort of
I
thing.
see.
How long did your mother do this?
Oh my. Probably off the top of my head, I'd say between 15 and 20 years.
Gotcha.
So what
Depending
year was
on,
this, approximately?
I graduated in 66. So it would have been probably from the late 40s up
After
through
the war.
through the 60s probably.
A pretty progressive thing for your mother to be doing.
Well, yeah, see, I just thought, to me, it was just a pain because she tied up the phone, which we had a party line.
Mm-hmm.
So she tied up the phone every Monday night, getting the news of what had happened all over the weekend.
I thought everyone was writing. Maybe not for the
Yeah,
paper, but just.
right, right, for just if they wanted to, right?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
we went to the library every week and got as many books as we could. And that too, I just assumed everybody did that.
Are you still
Yeah.
a pretty avid reader?
I don't know, it's like ever since maybe COVID, I can't do it anymore. I lose my focus really easy.
Oh.
Not
And
because of COVID, but just during that time, coincidentally.
just my age. I can get distracted by anything. And I just either that or I fall asleep when I start reading. Now
Well,
I go and
Me too.
exercise almost every morning at the swimming pool here. And
Awesome.
that's my thing, is to listen to an audiobook, and I can just block everything out, and it's just glorious.
So you started in your professional career in your 40s, you were just writing for work related things, and people were like, "Oh, wait,
This
you're good at this."
Well, actually, I was seeing a shrink,
Oh,
and
exciting.
yeah, and usually shrinks will tell their patients to get down. Mine didn't. He hadn't gotten to that point yet. But one night, after I'd had a session, and I was always just a wreck after the sessions,
they're
and
exhausting.
They're
Yeah.
the worst.
they are,
But
and
really
I
good for you
just,
and healthy.
yes, everyone should do it. I sat down at the computer and I just started typing about how I felt.
Oh,
Free thought, whatever that is. And I wrote like 4 or 5 pages, single spaced, just boom. And when I was done, I was just drained and
mhm.
exhausted, but I felt so good.
Ah.
And so I told him about it, and he said, "Well, can I read it?"
Oh, no.
And I said, "Well, sure."
Okay.
So he did. And then after that, he would tell me, like talking about a situation, he would say, "Write me a little story about a girl who was going through this."
Huh.
And
Okay.
and so that's kind of how I started writing fiction.
Okay.
And so that's really how I started writing.
So thank you to your therapist.
Indeed,
Have you published anything?
I published some stuff online, and I had a story in an anthology, well, 2 anthologies. I've had 2 stories in 2 anthologies. I was in a writers group, and it sort of fell apart during COVID. We were doing it online, but we just kind of stopped because we weren't doing any meeting. And a surprising number of writers that I know stopped writing
Hmm.
after COVID. I
Huh.
don't, because I didn't have a group anymore. I kind of stopped. And then after that, I've had a friend, a very dear friend, who asked me to ghostwrite
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
and she has a very interesting story. And I've been working on that, but I got to a point where I can't pick it up again.
Hmm.
And I don't know why, but it's weighing heavily on me.
So it used to feel like any creative outlet where it gets your mind in the zone and you're in the flow and you're
Yep.
creating and it's just coming naturally. And
Yes.
now it's like a
I
burden.
can't. I
So
can't start.
When you're ghostwriting for your friend, can you get in the flow?
No.
It's like a job. Like you can
That's
get it
where.
done.
Well, that's where one of the things. I mean, I have excuses, not good ones, but one of the things is that I don't have a writers group now. I had one after COVID that was, it started out with about 5 or 6 people, and then it was 4, and then it was 3, and then it got down to 2 of us, and then we just stopped because she was writing a lot, and I don't know. I think she had written a lot and had published, self-published a lot, but she I don't know if she was just getting bored with the whole process or what. I didn't feel like she was a good critique partner.
Oh,
gotcha. Not everybody's a good editor.
No, and I that's what I need. I need someone to help me. I need, because my friend is so
We're putting out the call.
flipping positive. She's so
Is she a
she's
Minnesotan?
so
And she's like, "Oh, I really liked it,
she
Mary."
she is a Minnesotan.
I'm just saying.
it
That's how they
all
are. They
comes
don't
full
tell
circle.
you the
She's
truth.
and she's sure that we have a bestseller on our hand. And I would love for that to be the case for her,
Yeah.
But neither one of us knows anything about editing. We need an editor, we need a
Yeah.
Yeah.
publicist, we need a beta reader or 3,
Yeah.
we need that stuff. And so, and my network of writers has shrunk down to nothing.
You need to
I
hang out
put,
in Greeley with all the Greeley people.
Well, if
I,
you were
I,
doing everything online before.
They could be from anywhere, right?
well, we were a local group.
Okay.
Yeah.
When COVID started, we just met through Messenger.
Yeah. I think that when you're doing a creative process, it's better to be with
The
people
people.
in fellowship and feed off the
Yes.
energy.
And I'm sure, to me, writers are, just being around writers gives me good vibes.
The energy of it.
So if you found the right group and the motivation came back, you would write again. You're just sort of in a
slump.
mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that's the case.
Okay.
I have reached out to some people who are published, who are friends of mine, and said, if you hear about a critique group that's not local, just online, if you hear about one that's looking for a critique member, I would love to join, but I haven't heard anything.
Does Pablo know any of those?
We might, yeah.
We might actually know one.
Yeah. We have a mutual friend who has a writers group here in town, and I think there are several people from the local university that partake.
If you hear, and that's another thing is it probably is qualified as a memoir, which my heart is really in fiction.
Right.
And I would love to get back to writing fiction, but I can't do that until I do this.
Did you write a certain type? I mean, fiction, but did you write a certain genre?
Well, it probably cozy mystery.
Oh, what's a cozy mystery?
I like it.
Well, it's like it's for old ladies, where like all of the violence takes place off stage.
Okay.
What's an author who writes cozy mystery?
Well, like Jane Austen. Well, those aren't really mysteries.
Women-centered.
Yeah, like Murder, She Wrote.
That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. In fact, I wrote
Agatha Christie?
Yes,
she-
yes, that's who I was trying
Okay.
to
Isn't
think.
there one
Thank
writer
you.
too
Yeah.
who like there's a letter and then the letter stands for something?
Sue Grafton.
Oh, Sue Grafton and no, that's
Wrong person.
she did that.
Is that cozy mystery or just mystery?
That would be more of a mystery.
I want to read a cozy mystery because I like things that old ladies like.
Well, I had started a series of short stories that took place in a retirement community.
Oh,
since
nice.
I live in one. And you can have recurring figures and you can have a comic figure. So the deaths are going to be like poisonings or something sneaky, something
No knife
not
cutting the throat kind of stuff.
Nice killings.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to call Dad and make sure he's not drinking any of the things that you're making.
He gets a little nervous when I watch true crime, but I haven't done that for a while.
okay. So cozy mystery. I love that. That's a new term I haven't heard before.
Well, actually, it's an old term. It's like people would probably tell you, oh, nobody reads cozies anymore.
Cozies. I like it. Let's bring it back.
I think we should bring
Let's bring it back, starring Mary. I don't know if you have a pen name that you use. Do you use a author name or do you?
No, I never got to that point where I had to worry about that.
At this rate, just use your name.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yes. And we'll link to the stories if you have anything in the notes. But I can tell you like just a little story about. So I had a client, an impossible client who needed
The best kind of
Oh,
client.
they're the worst. They're the worst. We were trying to write blog posts for them, and it was about a service. It was like an Uber, but for people who wanted to get somebody to help them if they had an older person who needed assistance driving to a doctor's
Okay.
appointment.
Yeah. So
Or
like
using their computer. It's like a service. So it was not just for driving, but a service. And it's not a terrible
for the
idea.
aging community.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see it maybe working, but they had a very specific something that they wanted in their blog posts. They wanted them to be fictional, but also real and also promoting their product. I tried, 3 or 4 different things, and they're like, no. So I'm like, okay. I'm going to have Mary try.
Ooh!
And she wrote the best little sweet story. And they liked it better than anything else, but they're dicks, so they didn't end up using any of it.
Ugh.
I know. It was a story about an older woman getting a nice big TV, and they're trying to figure out how to put it together, and her family's far away. It was such a nice little story, and it wasn't cozy, but maybe it was cozy.
Yeah, I feel like you're
was a
sort
cozy.
of missing a market here, Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Well,
young people love old people now.
We're not saying
when
you're
did
old.
that happen?
Well, because lots of families,
It was
right?
COVID.
Like,
It was COVID.
well, no, and like working class people have
Appreciating.
moved, right? Like families. I grew up with my grandparents 20 minutes away, and they came to
Sure.
all my things. So growing
Sure.
up without grandparents was like foreign to me. But so many
Right.
people moved for careers or moved for
Oh, yeah.
things. So
And they're moving
their
back.
children didn't have that close relation with their grandparent because they were in another state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
Yeah.
now with social media, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to watch these old people doing old people things because I didn't get to
Right.
growing up. Like simple,
They're like, look
amazing.
Look at them walk. Look at them.
What is that thing? A walker?
They're walking
Look
in
at
that
them
thing.
almost walk.
Look at them eat. It's 4:00.
Or even like, yeah, I'm in a gardening group and the
That's right.
oldest member is 97
Oh my goodness.
and she is fabulous. And every young person who meets her just wants to be around her, wants to learn about everything that, cooking and
Yeah.
baking and
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
right.
planting.
goodness.
Yeah, we're going back into actually being able to do stuff.
Yep.
'Cause,
Yep. Young people are sick of getting their food delivered to them all the time and they want old people energy.
knitting.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think if you write
Needlepoint.
killing someone with your knitting needles,
Oh, yeah. I think that might be
that's probably been done.
in a book already, but
That's probably been done.
that doesn't mean you can't do it again.
I'll have to
A
go
cricket.
back and look at some of mine, see what I did do.
Yeah.
I think if you get the bug again, there's a market there.
And we sort of want things that are nice and not too violent and not too everything. That's why those Hallmark holiday movies are so popular. I know you don't have to like Hallmark
I know.
holiday, but you can
I
do
know.
edgy.
Do you hate them too, Mary? I hate them.
Yes, I hate them.
Yeah,
But
they're the worst.
But I do like, as far as movies, or even stories, I like happy endings.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be able to see the ending from the beginning. I'd like it if there's some sense that keeps me wanting to continue.
The mystery part, the not
Yes.
knowing, yeah.
You're suggesting that Hallmark movies are predictable in some way?
Possibly.
Okay. All right.
Did you watch the new Netflix show that was a mystery set in an old folks' home?
It was a comedy, wasn't it? Or was it a mystery?
It was both.
Oh, I have it taped. I haven't seen it yet with Ted Danson.
Oh,
Yeah. It's cute.
it's cute.
It's
Oh,
cozy.
good.
And I also like the sex positivity in the retirement community. That's a
There
whole
you go.
different subject.
Yeah,
But
it is. Yes.
if you could make your mysteries a little sexy,
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably, I don't know if people know this about retirement communities, but there's a heavy amount of suicide that goes on.
Oh, no,
maybe
that's a
leave
terrible
out
thing.
the suicide, but put in the sex.
yeah, let's do that. That's much more positive.
Way better. It might help the suicide rate if they had
It
that.
might.
And you could
Yes.
put it, yeah, like you said, in communities. So not necessarily in a home. That's more depressing.
Right.
In a condo, patio home community.
That's kind of what
Right.
they have a little bit.
Because then you have security guards and you have
Oh, yeah.
And they could be double
Golf
agents.
They could be, they could be having affairs with the tennis pro.
handyman. Everybody's got a handyman here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to read a cozy mystery now. I'm going to suggest it to my book club.
Excellent.
You should get us some of your favorite cozy mysteries.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, as a matter of fact, one that you might like is there's an author called, I think his first name is Richard. His last name is Osman. Osman, and he hasn't been writing too long, but his books are so good. The first one is called The Thursday Murder Club, I
Ooh.
think, and it is set in a retirement community.
Okay.
And these people are, if they're Canadian, they might be Canadian. They all had pretty interesting careers before they retired. But now they've retired and they've kind of gotten together and they solve old mysteries that haven't been
Cold
solved.
Oh,
case files.
Yeah,
that's fun.
that's fun. So
Old people,
try
old mysteries.
that. Try
Okay.
him. And then also, have you ever heard of Louise Penny?
Oh, yes, I love her.
Do you read the Gamache series?
I have not read those yet, but I have several. I buy a lot of books because one day I'm going to be retired and I'm going to read them all. But you just told me that as you get older, you read less, so this is foiling my plan.
Well,
Yeah, you gotta get in there and get going.
So I have 4 of her books on my shelf in my bedroom. That is my read next
Okay.
file. So,
Well, I had read some of her standalones, but then I started one or two of the Gamache, and I fell so much in love with them that I went back to the beginning of the series, and I'm listening to all the audiobooks from the beginning of that series.
that the detective in Canada?
Yes,
Yes.
Inspector Gamache.
Oh, yes. Yep, they're on my list.
Okay.
Yep. Because so you also like things set in Canada, obviously, Mary.
Yes,
she's
yes, I do.
yeah, so
Yeah.
close to Canada and Wisconsin too,
Yeah, and now we're in Arizona,
which is
and
right.
now we have a
Right.
lot of Canadians that live here with us.
I think they're a little more genuinely friendly.
Why
than-
are you actually nice and not just pretending?
Yeah, I think.
Right. Well, everybody thinks Canadians are so polite,
Yeah.
and I think they are. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe because it's so cold. I don't know. But yeah, I really like the Canadians that I've met here.
That's actually a very good point because in the
The cold?
winter, people do tend to be friendlier.
Hmm.
Well, I hope that you get your creative juices back
Yep. We're going to talk
Thank you.
to
Thank you.
our guy here not
about a
little
writing
guy,
club.
and see if anything ever happens remotely. If you're interested, and you won't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, I would be game to talk to anyone because I do need help. I really do want to get back at it. It's weighing heavily on my mind.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, you did not say the secret word, so
Oh,
you
blast.
have made it the whole way.
Woo!
Well done. Let me give you.
There. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe
Oh, I like that one. Do
That
that
was a
one
good-
instead.
she did it.
Ooh.
The secret word was Danielle Steel.
Ah,
That is
you know, and Marty just mentioned her the other day,
Yep.
and I didn't even know she was still.
Is she alive? There might be someone writing for her or something. I don't know.
Isn't that the totally wrong genre? And she's a romance writer.
Isn't that the same?
Oh, yeah, she is. I think that's what made me decide that I liked mystery because I used to read her books and I would just be sobbing at this poor woman who just climbed up out of this pit right to the very top and then boom, right back
Wasted
down
it on a
again.
man.
And oh my gosh, it just broke my heart. All my friends read Danielle Steel, and we were all just smitten and crying our eyes out as though that was an indication that something was good.
Yeah.
I know that I got a couple of books, Danielle Steel things highlighted and handed to me. Just read this part.
Really?
Yeah.
By
Just-
who would
just
who would
dirty
give these
parts.
to you?
I don't know. Kids in school. This was
I
would
would
have been
never do that to you,
8th or
Jennifer.
9th or 10th.
I have never read a Danielle Steel book.
Me neither.
Oh,
I do love a romance though,
Oh.
as long as it is human beings.
And no fairies.
No fairies or vampires or things like that.
Yep.
But
Fair enough.
that was a very strange pick for the secret word, but
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's funny.
anything about mysteries or writing. But
Right.
All right.
But
Well,
all right, Mary.
I'm gonna read one of these, and Jen's gonna listen to it.
Okay.
Since she's like you, when she starts to read, she falls asleep.
fall right asleep. It's like narcolepsy.
And I think I'm gonna do this Thursday Murder Club. Let's read
Okay.
that.
Oh yeah, I hope you like that. It really is. You know, I read him and I think, oh my gosh, my critique group would be saying, why are you putting this in here? This doesn't have anything to do with the plot. But it makes it so interesting. He is so good.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. It was so
Thanks,
nice to
Mary.
talk to you.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Yes. Goodbye.
I see. Okay.
Everyone in Jennifer's family is lovely.
Yeah, they're pretty nice mostly.
I could talk to that lovely lady all day. Same thing as when we
Well-
call your moms. I'm just like, oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I like them too. They're pretty neat.
And your brother's great. We'll have to have him on sometime.
Ben's great.
He's a little darker, which is more my style.
Yeah. He won't come on because he won't get hung up on.
Well, if he doesn't say the word.
He doesn't
No
say
one
it.
has said the
So
word.
far,
We're
no one.
terrible at picking a word.
Yeah. I guess Danielle Steel was. I mean,
Funny.
is it fun? Because
It was funny.
I would think that would be something that would come up.
Like 30 years ago. Well, longer than that, probably.
I don't know. It's been a while for me.
Yeah, you're
But-
like, let me bring up the author that people told me to read in high school.
No, it wasn't people. It was like, read this part. It's dirty. It was like, they just read
your
the.
slutty friends.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Which are the best kind of friends.
Of course. Well,
So, time of the show where we talk about what we're hanging up on this week. What we are over.
yeah.
We're letting it go. You start because I don't
Suck
know
it.
mine yet.
You don't know yours?
No.
Okay, I had a few, but I think the one I've decided I want to go with, and I might save the others for later, is the book from Mel Robbins called Let Them. Now, I've read another Mel Robbins. Do you know who Mel Robbins is?
No.
She writes like self-help books, and she got kind of internet famous and stuff.
Ugh.
And
I hate self-help.
I don't hate it, but
Because you need it.
I need it.
Oh.
That's because as
You
a
walked into that one.
repressed Minnesota. No, I like self-help. I'm sure that some of what I've read in all of the self-help books has helped me in some way. The one book that I think that made me the most pissed off, well, one of the ones that made me the most pissed off, I read about 3 paragraphs of the Jordan Peterson book and was too angry to.
Yeah, no, we've
So,
talked about that.
And I had to return it, which you can return books on Audible in case people didn't know that. So
Oh. But you shouldn't be participating in Audible
why not? Oh, because of the libraries or
because it is Prime,
Amazon.
and
I
it is
know.
Amazon,
I've got,
and
like-
it is the corporate overlords.
You're right. I
And
should
we
get
all
rid of
need
it.
to get rid of it and go to your library or pick.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of other applications that are ran by smaller conglomerates, and your
You're-
money doesn't go to huge, giant, fucking rich assholes that make spaceships that look like their dick. Now
Yes,
I'm
I
off
think-
my soapbox.
I get that. I get what you're saying, and you're probably right. I do have like 14 credits that I'm going to use, and then I can cancel it, and then I'd still have access
You
to
can
those
pause it.
things. Yeah, I can pause it for however long. I've done that many times, but at any rate, it was recommending to me the Mel Robbins book, Let Them.
Let
Now, the
them.
last Mel Robbins book that I read was something like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch. And the
Okay.
whole idea was if you're waiting to do something, just tell yourself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch, and then you'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Like any anxious person ever would tell you, yes, that's going to solve my problem.
Absolutely solved everything. And not
Ugh,
only, not
what was
only
I
that,
thinking? I didn't count down.
not only that, it might have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 launch, which is even dumber. Like that doesn't even
Yep.
make sense.
No. NASA would have sued her ass.
Yeah. Suck it,
So she had-
Mel Robbins.
She had to
Well,
count up.
It's funny because my whole point is that I read that book and listened to that book, and there was like 10 chapters, and it was all saying that same thing
Yep.
over and over and over and over again. And I listened to the whole stupid ass book, and now she's got a new one called Let Them, which is like I've seen some of the clips on social media, and it's like, but what if they get mad at me? And then you'll never guess what she says.
Let them.
Let them. I think you have to say it like this. Let them.
Oh, like a little condescending?
A little.
Not empowered?
That's right.
Okay.
It's got to be condescending. Let them.
Oh, yeah, no, I like that even less.
It's awful. And I have been tempted to.
I think it needs to be let them
Yeah.
with your middle finger in the air.
Yeah. It
That's
might
more
be more
empowering.
That might be more empowering. Either way, I'm obviously not going to buy that book, but now I've just been imagining, and I read some of the critiques, some of the people, and someone said, the number of times that she says let them in this book is absurd.
Okay.
And I'm with them. So I will not be, I obviously wasn't probably going to buy it before, but I just wanted to mention that it annoyed me. I'm sure it empowers someone. This is Minnesota coming out here. I'm sure it empowers some people and that people really appreciate what's being going on. And I know, and if it does work for someone, I think that's fantastic. So what's
It's not.
And she's going to sell so many books, you know?
It's not. If you think what is holding you back in your life is caring about what others think about you,
Yeah. Let them. That's what I say.
fuck off.
Ashley, if that's how people want to be, let them.
Ugh. I've never been a self-help kind of person.
There's no help for you.
That's true.
You walked into that one.
That's true.
Okay.
So I'm over Jeff Bezos, obviously. I just said that. I'm over Amazon. I didn't know I was over, and then you triggered it. And
Yep.
I noticed when I was at Garden Club the other day, we were talking about dried flowers, and they were talking about pressing flowers. And one of the ladies in the club said, "Oh, look, you can get that on Amazon." And I said, "No, none of us should be buying from Amazon."
Got
and I
it.
yelled in the middle of the class
You're
for the presentation, and I thought, oh, they're all going to hate me. And then
Yeah.
the lovely lady next to me said, and some others, we won't even have to name names. And I was like, girl, old women to save the day.
Old Women's Club.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Young ladies, go hang out around older women. They are the best. And they don't need the Amazon.
They grew up without Amazon. They were fine.
We'll be fine.
And they grew up when there was probably more of the Amazon left.
And even if you go to an Etsy and maybe they're just second party delivering from Amazon, who the heck knows? But at least pretend that you're buying from something that isn't Amazon. Let's do that. Let's hang up on Amazon.
The big companies, conglomerates that
Yep.
are destroying the fabric
Of
this
small
country
businesses.
and
Yep.
small business.
Yep. And this country. Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen to that.
I'm with you. Thanks for joining us. If you're interested in being a guest on Hanging Up, we have a website now, and I don't have the URLs too long. But we're at
Search us on something other than Google for your own privacy. See,
Yeah.
look, I'm on a roll today.
So if you go to YouTube, it's at Hanging Up Podcast. So you can search us that way on YouTube. That's the only place we're putting our stuff now, but we'll have more on this later.
Yeah.
So, and this Hanging Up Podcast at Gmail as well. You can email us if you have an idea or you want to say something. Maybe you're a big fan of Mel Robbins and Jeff Bezos, and you'd like to take issue with us.
And what I have to say to that is, fuck you.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The next time you feel left out, your friends all go out to brunch together and they don't invite you. Let them. Or maybe the person you're dating doesn't want a commitment. Let them. Or perhaps your spouse does not want to do the 5K with you. Let them. Your company is laying people off. Let them. You spend so much time and energy trying to control other people and getting emotionally worked up about things that are beyond your control. You can tap into peace and true control if you let them be themselves. And here's the other thing. If you let them, people will then reveal who they truly are. And when they reveal who they truly are to you, you now know what you can choose next that's right for you. So let them.